Hey guys, welcome to my backyard, and I hope that you're having an amazing evening, and I am so glad that you're hanging out with me. I am like super friggin' winded. I just got done working out. I've been trying to do some more cardio. Not more cardio, trying to do cardio, let's be real here. I'm pretty much have the willpower of a sloth, so I'm really trying to get more healthy and take care of myself. And yeah, so I'm a little red in the face and probably a little misty, but that's okay. It's nice outside. It's nice cool down out here. Anyways, I wanted to talk to you guys today about something that maybe you might not have thought about or don't want to think about, which is what's going to happen to you when you eventually pass on. I looked online today for videos about Wiccans and death, or pagans and death, and not so much about like the Summerlands or reincarnation, which a lot of people I know on the pagan path believe. I was actually looking more of like, what are you actually going to do? So a little bit about me is that aside from being a tarot reader and being the local weirdo, I also work at a funeral home, and that allows me to kind of see the many aspects of death and what happens when people pass on, and about funeral planning. So I'm not trying to sell you on funeral planning or anything. I am not a pre-need person or a salesperson or anything like that, but I do think it's important for all of us, no matter how old you are, to think about what's going to happen when you pass away, especially if you are in an alternative faith, or if you live in a small community maybe, or something like that. Will your loved ones know what to do to make sure your wishes are fulfilled? And that's kind of a serious thing. Like, I know we don't like to think about it, but we should think about it. So I just want to talk to you a little bit from a funeral home perspective on what might be some good options if you are a pagan or a Wiccan or someone of an alternative faith. So first of all, a lot of pagans and Wiccans are interested in having what's called like a green burial, which is absolutely something that you can do. I live in Canada, and in New Brunswick, where I live, sorry mosquitoes, you're allowed to be buried without being embalmed. So that's the first thing, is thinking about what do you want to do with your body. A lot of people think cremation is a green way to go, but the thing is that the fuels that are used to do a cremation are not green, and the byproducts of that cremation create pollution in the air. So it's really not the greenest way to go, and I am in no means trying to convince you one way or the other. It's totally your choice. It's everyone's choice. We shouldn't judge people about how they want to deal with their remains, but it's just something to keep in mind that cremation's not really technically a green burial or a green way to approach death. The best, or greenest way I should say, is that many funeral homes, like the funeral home that I work at, they carry what they call green caskets, and these caskets are made out of recycled materials and they're completely biodegradable. So the casket will break down in the earth. There's no metal, there's no like chemicals used. It's put together by like old school, like, I don't know what they call it. I want to say not working, but that's not right. But you know, like latching the wood together. I don't know. I'm not a carpenter. I don't know. But you guys know what I mean. So they're kind of built like that. So there's no hardware or anything. There's no pollutants, I guess, that will go into the ground. And the casket will just break down, and that's it. And your body does not have to be embalmed. So now, different places have different laws when it comes to visitations, so you would have to think about that. But if you were planning to not have a visitation and just having a service, you could definitely not be embalmed and just be put into this one of these green caskets. And there's a lot of resources online if you look them up, and then you would just be buried in a plot, and that you would return to the earth basically with no chemicals, nothing. So that's really the greenest way to go about it. Now, after you think about your whole like body situation and what kind of casket you want, you also have to think about your service. So if you're going to have a funeral service, you need to think about who's going to preside over that service. Now, where I work, we have people called celebrants, and these celebrants are like non-religious people who will do alternative services. So they will do a lot of different ones where we don't have clergy. Where I live, it's kind of a small place, so there's not a lot of options around. So you can definitely enlist the help of one of these celebrants who will do the service for you, and you can pre-record or write down what you want your service to consist of. This is where I think pre-planning, or at least writing down your hopes for your funeral. That doesn't sound right. Your goals, funeral goals? Hashtag funeral goals. Anyway, write down what you want and what you would like from your family. Because the thing is, especially if you're the only pagan in your family, there may not be someone who's going to know what to do. And they're going to want to honor you if your family is okay with your faith and everything. So you will definitely want to write down what you want to have to be said at your service, or like if you want like incense burned, or do you want the elements invoked, or what have you. So make sure that you write it all down, and that includes like music, and that you want a green burial, or that you want cremation, or whatever. But make sure that somewhere you have a plan on what you want, because a lot of times what happens is, and I have seen this once before, where families just don't know what to do. Like they don't know how to honor your memory because they don't understand your faith, or they don't know much about it. And if you've passed away, they're going to be grieving and upset, and their minds aren't going to be in the right place. And what will happen is you're going to end up with a generic funeral, and you may not get what you had wanted. So it's very important for people like us who are in alternative faiths to make it clear what we want when our lives kind of come to an end. I mean, it sucks to think about death. It sucks to think about that we're going to die, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And it's really, really important that your loved ones know what you want, and that they can honor you and celebrate you. What I plan to do, I'll just talk about my own demise. My own demise, how dark and spooky. So spooky. I want to just be wrapped in a cotton sheet. I don't want any embalming. I don't want anything like that. No chemicals, no visitation. Put in a biodegradable casket, buried, and that's it. That's what I want. And I would hope to have a funeral that is like, I want like a super sad funeral, because I want everyone to be crying, and I want everyone to be upset and to miss me. So I want it to be really, really sad with some sad music. And I do definitely want a celebrant who's going to at least talk about the goddess and God and the earth. I don't really care about the elements being invoked or anything like that, but I definitely want there to be talk about the goddess and God and the fact that my body is being returned to the earth. I would also like them to remind everyone that on Samhain they could totally invoke me, like get out your Ouija board or whatever and see what kind of shit you can stir up. But definitely I would like that to happen. I would like people to know what my faith was when I pass, and because it's such a big part of who I am, so I want my funeral to reflect that. And it just sounds really weird talking about it, and even though I work around it all the time, it's still like really, really weird to be sitting here recording a video talking about my death. But I think it's important, and I think that people need to know what we want. And especially, you know, what if you have children? Will your children know what to do with your old dead pagan corpse? You know, they might not know. So it's important that you let people know. And it's important to talk to your funeral home. You don't even have to pre-plan and pay or anything, but just talk to a funeral professional, talk to a funeral director, and just see what options are there for you. See what, because they may have already, some places, especially bigger cities, I'm positive that they know how to deal with, like with a pagan passing and a pagan funeral, where like little towns, they may not. So talk to your funeral home, talk to a funeral director. There's no harm in making an appointment to talk to someone about this, because they'll be able to also help you and point you in the right direction. But it's definitely just something that I wanted to talk about, because what will happen? My husband wouldn't have a clue what to do. Mosquitoes are out. My husband would not know what to do if I just died tomorrow. Like, he would not know unless I have it written down somewhere and told him. Now, my work, because I work at the funeral home, I've made it pretty clear what I want to happen to me, but we all don't have that luxury, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to make this video and just talk about that, because I want to get you thinking. I want you to really think about what you're going to do when the time comes. What's your plan? what are your wishes? What do you want? Like, how do you want to be remembered? It's important. It's important to think about that. It's important to consider what you once said, or if there's prayers that you once said, or deities that you want mentioned. You've lived your whole life your authentic self, so make sure your funeral and your last kind of hurrah reflects that. Don't let that don't make it something, don't let it be generic, unless that's what you want, of course. But definitely it's something that you now, in the present, because if you're watching this, you're alive, you can start taking the proper steps towards making sure that your wishes are fulfilled. I've seen it happen with other people of all different faiths, where their families just don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do. They're going through grief, and grief is really, we all know what that's like, and you just don't think straight. So imagine someone, if you passed away, and then your loved ones who don't really know your faith or understand it, having that on top of their grief. It's a lot for them to have on their heads. So definitely write it down, put it somewhere safe, talk to your funeral home, and see what green options, or whatever options are out there. I mean, you don't have to have a green burial. It's not written anywhere so that you have to do that. You could be embalmed, you could be put up in the corner, whatever you want to do. But definitely make sure, if you're a pagan or a Wiccan or of an alternative faith, that you write down your wishes somewheres, because it's going to happen to all of us, and it's just really, really important that you're remembered the way you want to be. Death is such an odd thing, working in the funeral home and working around death. I help at night with removals and transfers and picking up people who've passed away at nursing homes or in their homes, and I can tell you that the energy shift is so incredible, and it's like the deceased are truly just a shell. Your body is just a shell, and I can feel that when I go on removals or when I go and I pick up someone. It's like a flat energy. I feel like when we meet people, we all have like a vibration, and it's kind of what tells us if we like someone or not, kind of that vibe that we get from them. And when you go on a removal and you pick up someone who's just passed away, the energy is just not there. That static is not there. That vibration is not there. Every person that I pick up almost looks the same. And that spark that makes you, you, and me, and your dog, and all of that stuff, it's gone. It's just gone. And that to me is all the proof that I need that we have a soul, that we go on, that we go back to this beautiful, gorgeous universe. When I think about death in the sense of what's going to happen, my personal beliefs are that our energy goes back to the earth, and I think that we are reincarnated in a sense. Like, I'll never be Tasha again. Like, Tasha's gonna be gone. That's gone. But my energy will be there, and it'll be in the sense of hopefully people remembering me, or people, like, hopefully as Samhain, people will kind of give me a little love, I hope, in the future. And your energy will live through laughter and memories being shared, and the impact that you make on people, and the stories that you told, and the stories that people tell about you. I think that's how our energy keeps moving. It keeps living. It keeps going. We join the earth. We join the flowers. We join the grass. We join the sky. And I just feel like when our souls are ready, I feel like if our souls aren't ready, maybe we do continue to get reincarnated. Maybe we do continue to learn. I always kind of agreed with that school of thought as well, that we're put here to learn and grow. And I don't know why. And I don't know why we've been cursed with this knowledge of death and this awareness of death, and that we can't just go through our lives not worrying or thinking about it. But I do think that we are here to learn and grow and become our best selves. And maybe if we kind of fuck up this time around, well, then we just come around again and again and again. And then eventually we just join the universe, and we just join this beautiful, crazy, wonderful universe. And I think that extends past Earth. I don't mean that as like an aliens kind of thing or anything, but I just think it's so much bigger than Earth. I think it's so much bigger than our planet, and that universal kind of consciousness or that spirit is something that is just beyond our comprehension. But I definitely think that there is something after this life, and I feel it when I go into homes, and I go into nursing homes, and I go to the hospital. It's just insane, the difference in the energy, and that to me is validation that there is something after death. As someone who works in the funeral industry, I also have a very not so much crippling anymore, but I've had a fear of death, and I've had anxiety about death, and took me a long time to start to come to terms with the fact that death is a thing, and that death is something that's going to happen whether we want it to or not. And I just find peace knowing that that energy shift is there, and knowing that I felt that, and I know that when people pass on, that spark, that energy is there. It really is just a shell, and that to me is validation in a way that there's something bigger, there's something more. I really can't articulate it well, but I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. But yeah, I do think we go on. I think that we just join this earth, and that it's really, really important that we're remembered for who we are, and our faith is honored, and our spirituality is honored, just like every other faith that gets honored. So my whole point of this little death ramble, which is what I might call this video, is just to remind you to get thinking. Just get thinking. And you don't have to worry about it, and I don't want you to stress out about it, but I definitely want you to think about it, and I want you to consider your options, and know that you have options, and know that there are people out there who can preside over your service. You could live somewhere where there are priestess and priests that maybe can do services, and if so, you should contact them. You should get in touch and see about the services, and see what the funeral rites are like that they do. Talk to your funeral home, talk to people, talk to anyone that you can, and let them know what your wishes are. Because one thing that I've learned working in the funeral industry is that our lives are incredibly fragile, incredibly fragile. Every day is a miracle, and that is the truth. And just know that you should take advantage of this time and embrace this time. And definitely just look at your options, so you know when you pass on to the other side, or you join the universe, or you reincarnate as some like sexy tigress, your wishes are being handled. So I have rambled on now for almost 18 minutes, so I'm going to stop here. But I just want you to think about that. I want you to think about what your plans are, and start to seriously look at your options, and just make sure you're honored, because you should be. And just know that I love you, and I think you're amazing, and I am so glad you're here watching, and I promise the next video is going to be a lot more of a happier, upbeat topic, but I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to share this with you. And just know we are all just shells, and we have these amazing spirits in us, and you're amazing. So I hope you have a wonderful evening, and thank you for listening to me ramble, and I hope you got something out of this, and I really, really hope that you might listen to me and just talk to somebody about what your plans are, or at least write them down in your book of shadows, so that you can be honored the way you should. I'm going to go get a big glass of water. I'm going to go sit on my ass because I just worked out for the past hour, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my night, and I hope you enjoy yours too. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.